This is a Fox News alert. It's all unfolding right now on Capitol Hill. Senate Democrats effectively blocking debate on Republicans' police reform bill. The move effectively stalling police reform in the Congress, even as the House now likely to approve its own police reform bill as soon as tomorrow. The top-ranking senators are butting heads over the issue. They've been doing so all day. Take a listen.
Now they don't want to take up the issue. They don't want to debate. They don't want amendments. They'll filibuster police reform from even reaching the floor of the Senate unless the majority gets the minority to rewrite the bill behind closed doors in advance.
Don't get on your sanctimonious horse, Leader McConnell. You have none of the civil rights community behind you. I think the politics here is that Leader McConnell wants to show he's doing something and get nothing done.
So earlier this morning, Leader McConnell also said that Chuck Schumer was sort of holding this bill hostage. He called the move by Democrats a bizarre ultimatum. Marie, no, you're not a surrogate for the Democrats, but want to hear what you think is the rationale behind blocking the debate on this issue.
Well, this is a negotiation. Every bill on Capitol Hill, as you know, Jillian, is. And the Democrats believe that this bill is incredibly weak. And that is something that the civil rights organizations believe, the groups, not the far, far left groups, but the mainstream civil rights groups trying to attack police reform issues. They believe that the Republican bill doesn't go far enough by any means. And so Democrats say, we'll debate this bill with you, but the bill needs more teeth in it to actually come to the floor. And this is a process. That's how it always works. The House bill is much more, goes much farther, is much more forward-leaning. This is a legislative debate, and I agree with Chuck Schumer here. You know, Mitch McConnell wants to say they're doing something and show they're doing something, and Tim Scott, I think, is working very hard in the Republican caucus to get more people on board, but he has a really tough job because the Republican caucus does not want to go farther on police reform. They don't want to tackle a more comprehensive bill, and Democrats are saying, you know what? You don't have a supermajority. You need some of us. We want real police reform in this bill, not just a Band-Aid, and that's what they're pushing for.
Melissa, watching Senator Scott go through this legislative process over the last few days, what's your takeaway in terms of where he is, the gap between him and the rest of the caucus, and how they can kind of bridge that?
Well, when you see 70% overlap between what the left and the right wants on this, I feel like it is a total disservice to the nation to not bring it to the floor and talk about it. Then you would have an open opportunity in front of a mic to say, here are the things that needed to be added in order for us to move forward on it. So I don't understand not moving forward. It's not like there's no commonality, but at the same time, I think they're doing a really good job of demonstrating why you can't solve any problems at a federal level, that they're not able to come together. They don't know what's going on. They never get anything done. They don't do anything to earn their paychecks. And I think that this just reinforces that if you want to see change, which I think everyone does and can agree upon, it's going to have to happen on a local level. And it's ridiculous to think that those in Washington can do anything to help us move forward.
Katie, Melissa brings up a good point, which is the Senate has a much larger problem than this one issue, which is that they by and large, the Senate and the House, the entire Congress together still lacks the trust of the majority of Americans. We had this brand new Fox News poll that came out Friday, showed us 62% of Americans disapprove of the job that Congress is doing overall. Where do you think this latest move gets us?
Well, you know, a one-size-fits-all federal policy for local policing or any other issue is usually a bad idea. What's going to work in a place like New York City versus a rural area in Texas, for example, is not the same thing. The police departments or the sheriff's departments are dealing with very different situations on the ground, and oftentimes big pieces of legislation that come out of D.C. actually make the situation much worse. However, when it comes to the police reform that Senator Tim Scott has tried to move through, that Democrats are now blocking, it's really important to remember how Democrats have reacted to a black man from the South who has been discriminated against himself on the basis of race, Dick Durbin, a Democratic senator, said that this was token legislation. This is not Mitch McConnell's legislation. This is Tim Scott's legislation. You had Speaker Pelosi saying that Republicans, including Tim Scott, because it's his bill, are responsible for the murder of George Floyd by putting this bill forward. So I think when it comes to looking at who is trying to solve the issue here, comments like that, especially given the person, the Republican who has introduced this piece of legislation and has 50 sponsors, that should be remembered when it comes to who is taking this seriously and who wants to actually solve the problem, not for political reasons, but for real reasons to help police departments and communities come together on the ground.
It's an interesting criticism. So you think that part of the reaction here in blocking debate on this stems from racism on the other side? Do I understand you right?
I'm simply pointing out the comments that Dick Durbin and Speaker Pelosi have made in response to a bill introduced by an African-American senator who is trying to move the ball forward on real policing. And if Democrats want to criticize Republicans for not having enough teeth in the bill, well, Democrats don't want to touch police unions either. So there's plenty of criticism to go around on those issues.